Hey, hi, hello. This video is going to be a doozy. So today I'm going to be doing the trifecta of TBR videos. I'm gonna be playing bingo, I'm gonna be rolling the dice and playing Bookoplathon, and then I'm going to be announcing my novice path / what prompts I'll need for my character in order to do the magical readathon, all in the month of September. I'm psyched. I am so thrilled. I'm blown out of my mind. I will put chapter markers if you've only come here for one of those things or two of those things, so that hopefully you can just watch the part of the video that you want to watch. What I'm going to be doing in this video is I'm going to be playing bingo first, and then the books I managed to get with bingo I am going to try to fit into Bookoplathon. I will be doing 7 rolls for Bookoplathon, and that is because I'm trying to match those to the 7 prompts that I need to read for my novice path. I am going to try to read 11 books for the magical readathon, but there are only 7 that I am required to read in September, so the other 4 might get pushed off into October or November, just depending on timing. If you don't know anything about those, I will have both of those readathons linked down below, and if you watch those videos, it'll explain what I just said. I had no punishments in the month of August. If you're brand new to my bingo board, I play bingo every single month to pick the prompts to help pick books that I'm going to read that following month. So I have this beautiful deck of cards which has prompts on the back, and they go on all of the colored slots except for the yellow one. The white ones get these cards, which are not so pretty because I handmade them, and they have tasks or objectives, and I don't get to figure these out until I've read something that's touching one of them. I then get to flip it. The yellow and the one white in the very center are buddy reads or book club picks, so I don't really get to pick them, minus the one in the center is the book I am most looking forward to that month. I do get to pick that, but they are picked for me by other people. And then blue is library books and green is owned books. If you want to know how my month goes, I do weekly reading vlogs where I talk about the books and I do the activities. I'm just gonna prove a nice little shuffle for you all. Okay, you can't totally tell because I decided to pick a really light can color for those, and they're over top of white, but those prompts are put in, and now I'm going to put my buddy reads, book club picks, and my most anticipated book for the month on the board. Okay, so those might be a little bit difficult to see, so I actually own all of these physically, except for the very bottom one. I do own it physically, but it was supposed to arrive today, and I just got a notification that it is not arriving for a few more days because of something with the post, so I won't be able to hold it up for you. But the bottom one is Savage Lands. I basically found this on TikTok. It's like a fantasy romance book. I don't know anything else about it, but I was told that if I really liked Glint and Akatar, that I would like this. And Glint, if you don't know, was my favorite book of last month. I freaking loved it. I meant Guild, but I also loved Glint, so it doesn't really matter. Guild, Glint, whatever. The King Midas retelling that is somewhat circulating right now. Speak of the devil, the middle slot is Gleam, which is the 3rd book in that series. It's a King Midas retelling. I've told you briefly about it. I'm not gonna sit and talk more about this right here. I am buddy reading Song of the Forever Rains. This is another fantasy romance, but I think this has to do with a con in a city. I don't totally know. I fell in love with this cover and I knew that I wanted to pick it up. The back says words like the Thief Kingdom and the Thief King and Sorceress and Youngest. Youngest isn't a buzzword, but it was a word that stood out to me. Rereads for me that are really exciting. So first up, I finished Words of Radiance last month, my reread of Words of Radiance. So this month I will be rereading Oathbringer, and because in good typical Amanda fashion, I asked a friend to reread it with me so that I have no excuse to not finish it. So me and her will be reading at least the first half this month. I have decided that if I only read, this much of it and I save this much for October, that it's fine. I'm not going to be angry. I'm going to count it towards the board. But if I finish all of it, that's even better. And I'm so excited to finish this and move on to Rhythm of War. This is the 3rd book in the Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson. I love it. Finally, I will be rereading The Shadow of What Was Lost by James Islington. This is an interesting series to talk about. So my book club is reading this and then the 2nd and 3rd through the rest of the year. And this is the story of a world after a war, and we are following this young boy who goes to this magical school, but I don't even want to say that because the magical school is such a small part of this story, and he very quickly has to go on this quest to do some things because of the war that ended like 20 years ago, and It's so good. It has travel, it has adventure, it has some great characters in it. But one of the things that really gets me, and you don't totally pick up on it until near the end of the book, so I hate saying it, but it's not a spoiler, there's some time travel in this book. So now comes the fun part. We get to pick the books that I'll be reading that we don't know anything about. For prompts for that, I am doing a shuffle of my cards. Okay, so we're gonna be picking 4 cards from here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And what do we have? We have 6-word title, red cover, finish a series, and blindfolded. See, I don't need any friends for any of these. 6+ word title, oh, that's gonna kill me. And now the thing is, if I don't have a book that fits one of these prompts, I'm not going out and buying a book. So we will just have to see what I have on my shelves, but that one might have to change. First up for red cover, I am going to be reading 6 Crimson Cranes. Now this cover doesn't have a ton of red on it, but it definitely has some red. But if you remove the dust jacket, the book is very red. So I am 100% counting this. Like I would count this, to be honest, but in case you want to fight me on it. So 6 Crimson Cranes is by Elizabeth Lim. She also wrote Spin the Dawn, which I didn't totally love, but I have high expectations for this because there is an arranged marriage. There's a magic system based on birds. I love birds, by the way, in case you don't know that about me. There's this girl who's realizing things that she doesn't totally realize. Anyways, stepmom, magic, dragons maybe? For finish a series, I'm going to be trying... Oh boy, I've been saying this for 2 months now. I will be reading this book. I promise I will be reading it. It's just a matter of, after reading A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire, I realized that I don't want to listen to this book. And this book has really long chapters. This series, I don't know why, but I don't like mesh with really long chapters, especially when I physically read. So I'm struggling to pick it up. It's the final one published, so I'm gonna count it for this. And this is the 3rd book in the From Blood and Ash series about Poppy, who is a maiden who can't have any earthly pleasures, gets a new guard. His name is Hawk. They kind of like have a thing for each other, and then lots of craziness ensues. I enjoyed book 1. I thought it was okay. I hated book 2, but I have weirdly high expectations for book 3. For 6+ word title, in my mind this means it can have 6 words or it can have more than 6 words. I do have one book that fits it, and I wasn't planning on reading this book this month. I was planning on reading this book very soon, to be honest, probably October, but because of the chunkers on this stack already, and then also throwing this one on here, I wasn't planning on adding another thick book, but it's the only one that fits. I might be reading 1,000 Deaths of Ardor Ben. It's time. I've been having this book on my shelf since December. I tried a chapter of it in my try a chapter tag video. I loved the first chapter. I was really invested in the book, and then I looked at how thick it was too many times and I got disheartened. This is the book of Ardor Ben. This is his story. There's 3 books. They're all out. And he is a con artist, and one day he is asked to steal something from the king, and so it's supposed to be a really big heist, a really big like twist and turn story. Now for blindfolded, I need to collect a few supplies. I'm gonna go do that and we'll be right back. Okay, so I have my blindfold, and what I'm going to do is I have 4 books here. So out of the 4, I have Whisper of Shadow and Flame, What Big Teeth, Malice, once again, and Strange the Dreamer. Now I've read Strange the Dreamer. I'm not going to be reading Strange the Dreamer this month. What I'm going to say is if Strange the Dreamer gets picked, that means that at a later time I get to mood pick an audiobook that I own. I don't know how I'm exactly gonna do this because last time when I got blindfolded, it was library pick and I just had them on my phone. So I'm just gonna blindfold myself and kind of talk myself through this. So this is a blackout blindfold. Once I put it on, I cannot see anything. I have the books in my lap, and I know you're probably like, oh, you can probably feel what book is what book. To be honest, I've already forgotten what books I put in this stack. I think Malice is in here somewhere, but I don't know what it feels like. So I've shuffled the books. There's 1 hardback and 3 paperbacks. I don't remember what it is. I also think it's funny that I have my eyes closed while I'm blindfolded. So I'm gonna throw these across the room because I'm chaotic and I don't care about anything. And I'm gonna lean over and I'm just gonna grab one, and whichever one I grab is the book. If you don't like how this is done, I'm sorry, I can't think of a better way right now to do this. So I'm just gonna lean. I'm gonna put my hand in camera so that you know I don't cut, and then I'm gonna lean. Oh God, I think I picked up a chunker. I picked up Malice. Okay, so once again, world has decided that it's time for me to read Malice by John Gwynne. God, at this point, do I even need to be saying what this book is about? I've been putting it on my TBR for so long. This is the story of like a war that is coming, and it's a bunch of different POVs as they are preparing across this land. It's fantasy. I don't know what else to tell you about this book. Okay, so that was all of my owned books. Let's shuffle again and do my library books. I've been watching a lot of tarot videos online, and they all do the thing where they knock 3 times, and then if any of the cards like slip out while they're shuffling, those cards are picked. And I think I want to start doing that, to be honest. Okay, some cards fell on the ground. They're the ones that are being picked. So I need to have 8 of these. So first up we have Friend Wreck. Second, we have green cover. Third is 3-word title. Fourth is longest on TBR. Fifth is something I can't read. Next in series. Sixth is TBR before 2021. Heist book. Oh my God. And then 8th is ship on cover. Between the chunkers I've already selected for myself and the fact that longest on TBR is on here, I have a feeling that September is going to be a chunky book month. Let's pull up my library app and shuffle through what I have. So the only book that I am currently reading that is from last month that'll be carrying on to this month is Foundry Side, and that's great because that actually fits heist book. So I didn't use it for last month. It was put on the board for last month, but I only read 10%, so I didn't count it for last month. So I'm gonna be counting it for this month. I have started it. I've been told by a few people that they really loved it and really enjoyed it. So far, I'm really into the book. And it is this book about this world where inanimate objects can be animated by like spells and sigils, and she seems to be able to understand what these inanimate objects are thinking. And then one day she comes across this one particular object that seems to be more trouble than it's worth. I'm gonna leave it at that, but where I'm at in the book, one heist has already happened, and I know that there's gonna be more. 3-word title, I'm going to be attempting The Cruel Prince. This also made it on the board last month. I just literally didn't have time for it, and I don't have to read everything that goes on the board, in case you're wondering. I just have to, oh my God, I didn't explain this at the beginning. I just have to have bingos for every single book that I bought. So I can put books on this board all day and night and not read them, and it's perfectly fine, as long as I don't buy books. But I'm going to be putting The Cruel Prince on here once again. I feel like it's a really popular book, so I'm not going to be saying what it's about, especially because I don't totally know what it's about, but hopefully I'll be finding out. Green cover, I am going to be reading The Wizard of Earthsea by Ursula Le Guin. This will make more sense later. I picked it specifically for a prompt in Magical Readathon, and I'm excited to be reading it because it's short, and I need a short book. For on my TBR before 2021, I am going to be reading Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. This is a 5-star prediction for me. This is also a book that I have been looking forward to reading for a long time now, but I've just been hesitant to pick it up. And then recently I read Recursion by Blake Crouch, same author, and I loved it, and it made me want to pick this up instantly. I just haven't had the time. So this will also be fitting in for Magical Readathon. You'll see it later. But it is the story of a man who is like living his life and then one day wakes up in a different timeline, and I don't totally know anything else about it, but I'm excited and I trust Blake Crouch to take me for a fun ride. Now I am looking for books to fit the last 4 of these. For ship on the cover, we're gonna stretch this one slightly, but I think it counts, and mine is the only opinion that matters when it comes to TBR bingo. I'm going to be reading The Boatman's Daughter because ship and boat are basically the same thing. Anyone who knows what the difference between a ship and a boat is not the kind of person I want to be around in my life. But it doesn't have a boat on the cover, as you can see, but it has the word boat in the title. And in the past games I've played, I have counted words that are on the cover as items that are on the cover. So I don't know anything about this book. I know it's a horror book, and I tend to go into horror pretty blind, but someone recommended this to me at one point, and I added it to my TBR, and I thought nothing else about it. Okay, so in order to fit this next book, I was gonna have to stretch either prompt that I put it in. but it's short and I'm really interested in reading it. Tell me, do you want me to stretch friend rec or next in series? I think it would fit better into friend recommendation. I'm going to be reading The Cabin at the End of the World by Paul Tremblay. So the way I'm going to stretch it into friend rec is it has not been recommended specifically to me. Goodreads has recommended it to me. I should say not recommended to me by a friend, and I've seen other people recommend it to other people, but never to me. I still think that counts, right? Like, we're all friends here on the internet. It's fine, it's cool. So I don't know what this story's about, but I know it's a haunted house story, and I love haunted house stories, and the main character is a child, which I love horror books where children are the main characters. I think it is just fabulous. At this point, it's too late. You can't stop me. The way I was going to fit it into next in series, because it is a standalone, is it's the next in the series of Paul Tremblay books that I want to read. So I think we're all happy that I didn't end up doing that. Oh boy, are we getting used to the words? This might be cheating, but I have gone through my library for I cannot tell you how long I've been sitting here scrolling through. First off, I don't like reading sequels. I don't. It's just something I don't tend to do that often, and if I do it, then I buy the sequel. So I don't have many at my library that I want to read. So in a weird twist of fate, I have decided that next in series can mean that it's the next one in the series that I haven't started yet, which means I get to start a series that I've been wanting to start, and the next one in that series that I'd be able to read is the first one. I think it makes sense. If you, I'm gonna say it again. If you disagree, who cares, you can't stop. What I'm going to be reading for this is Leviathan Wakes by James S. Corey. I've been trying to get more and more into sci-fi the past few months. I don't know why. I literally woke up one morning and my brain was like, you need to be into sci-fi. I've never really enjoyed sci-fi unless it's dystopian. Once again, I woke up and my brain said, you need to be more into hard sci-fi. So I've been having my eye on a few different ones, and this is one of the ones that I'm interested in, and it was the only one that my library had as an audiobook that would be available within the amount of time that I needed in September. So I'm gonna be reading it. What is it about, you say? I think it's about these like spaceships. There's a war coming, a missing girl. Heard good things about the later books in the series, so if I get through this one and I'm like meh about it, but I don't hate it, I think I'll continue. But if I'm like not doing it, I'm gonna give up on sci-fi for all time, because that's only fair, right? Finally, we are left with longest on TBR. So what I'm gonna do for this one is I'm going to go to Goodreads and I'm gonna go to my want to read shelf, and I'm going to order them by length, and then I'm gonna find the longest. I'm gonna show you what the list is. Oh god, I already know what it's gonna be. So these are the options that my library has, and the very top one is The Stand by Stephen King, which I know my library has. So as long as the wait time isn't ridiculously long, it'll be the book I'm reading. If not, the second option is Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. I also know my library has that. It has about a 3-week wait on The Stand, so I'm going to put a request on it. How long is the audiobook? 48 hours. Cool. Cool. I'll be reading The Stand by Stephen King. I don't know what it's about. I think there's like some paranormal horror stuff going on. Why is my board filled with horror this month? I read fantasy. So that's everything that I'm going to be reading thanks to TBR Bingo. This is a long video, I'm starting to realize right now. Bookoplathon board. I'm going to roll all 7 rolls at once, get my prompts, and then come back to you and talk to you about them here. A lot of them will be repeats from what you've already seen. Hi, welcome to the board. You've seen this if you watched Becca's video. My piece is going to be one of my crystals that has come off of its necklace. Last year I played with a snail shell. This is an upgrade in my book. These are my chance and my community shelf picks. I'm gonna set them right here where you can still see them, but I'm gonna be rolling right here. So once again, I'll be doing 7 rolls. Any doubles means I will in fact be doubling up. So first roll is an 8. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 gods. Next roll is doubles, and it's 8. Once again, I will now be rolling 8 times, and I've gotten 8 twice in a row. That seems funky. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. History. Next roll, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Steal a book. Fourth roll. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. POC rep. 5. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Chance. Now I have to remember, I think these are the chance cards, and I think the chance cards have books on the back of them. I don't think they have prompts. I can't remember. I did it according to the video. I just can't remember right now. So I'm going to do a little shuffle. And the top one is, haha, Gleam! 6th roll is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Lowest rated. 7th roll is 3. 1, 2, 3. TBR vet. And then 8th and hopefully final roll. One of them rolled off the side, but it is a 3. So I started and ended on 8. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Mood read! Yes! Welcome back to my face. I actually haven't shown you guys in this video yet, but I did get hit in the head with a ceiling fan last week. Let's go through the 8 books that I have picked for the 8 roles that I was given. So first selection was Gods, and for this I have decided to read The Shadow of What Was Lost. Now, Gods are iffy with this one. I'm using this for godlike beings. I know I could have used Oathbringer, which would have made way more sense for godlike beings, but the people in this book who have magic and have abilities and use it are like beyond godlike, and there are some instances where we run into characters who might actually be gods, and I just felt like it would be a really good fit for it. For history, I decided to pick Song of the Forever Rains. Now, because it's fantasy, I haven't read it yet, but most likely it's going to be based on the past, most likely European medieval history. But that's not why I picked it. Why I picked it is because this cover is actually in the design of Art Nouveau, which was very popular in the late 1910s, early 1920s, and is one of my favorite art styles out there. Very short of Post-Impressionism and Art Deco, which are my 2 favorites. So I'm picking this because the artwork on the front cover is actually very historically significant and talks a lot about its time period. For Steal a Book, I'm going to be reading Oathbringer. I'm stealing this from my friend who's also having to read it this month because we're buddy reading it. That was really easy. For POC rep, I'm going to be reading 6 Crimson Cranes, which I've already spoken about. The main character is Asian. I don't know what culture inspired this book, but I want to say Chinese. For my chance card, I got to pick the book Gleam, which I'm so psyched about. It's probably gonna be the first book I read this month as soon as I finish the book I'm currently reading. For lowest rated, I took my owned shelf and I put them in order of average rating on Goodreads, and the lowest was What Big Teeth, which came at a 3.5, so I will be trying to read this one. Hopefully, I have good expectations. This is a Big Bad Wolf retelling where our main girl comes back to her family after something happens at college and she realizes how monstrous her family is. I have read the first 2 chapters of this in different try chapter tags, and I'm excited to pick it up. For TBR veteran, I'm gonna be reading Malice. Malice! Finally, for mood read, I decided to be nice to myself, and I'm gonna let myself pick a book throughout the month as I read and as I go. Whatever I'm in the mood for probably will come up in the second half of the month once I've read the ones from these piles that I'm more interested in. So I'm gonna let me pick it later. Finally, we are going to be talking about Magical Readathon. First things first, I'm going to go through the 4 prompts that help build my character. They do not have to be read this month, but they have to be read before next April. So for those 4, I have decided to make my character a wildling, which means that they are born out in the countryside. So I need to read a book that takes place in the country, in the forest, in the outside area. And for this, I have decided to pick up The Sunderlands, which is a book I keep seeing on TikTok. I've heard it compared to ACOTAR. I've heard the author saying great things about it. I have it physically, but it's part of the package that hasn't arrived yet, so I can't show it to you. I know that it's really, really dark. The main character is morally gray. I think there's pirates in it. I don't totally know, but I'm excited to be picking it up, and it takes place mostly in a forest. My character was born in Daerun, which means that I need to read a desert book. So for this, I have decided to read The Martian. So I know that it takes place on Mars, but Mars is a desert, right? So I'm going to be reading it. I've never read anything. Actually, I have read, what am I saying? I'm basically reading Andy Weir out of order. I really can't wait to get to Project Hail Mary, but I have read Artemis because something's wrong with me, maybe. I'm excited though, because that means from here on out, his books are just going to get better, hopefully. I don't remember what I rated Artemis now. It's been a few years since I've read it, but it was probably like a 3 to a 3.5. I didn't hate it, didn't love it. The Martian, man stuck on Mars, has to survive. That's the entire book. My character is of mixed blood. So they are half air earthling and half, oh, please help me with this word, Illyrian. My earthling side, I need to read a book with elemental magic or an element on the cover. So I'm going to be reading Whispers of Shadow and Flame because flame is in the title. This is the sequel to Song of Blood and Stone, which I really, really loved and I read last month, and I've been meaning to pick this up. I just have not had the time. Well, the first one is the story of Jasminda and Jack, and it is a dual POV, new adult fantasy story that kind of borders in between YA and adult and everything. And it is this country that is on the brink of war between a magic wielding people and a non-magic wielding people. One day soldiers show up at Jasminda's house and they have a prisoner with them who is Jack, and the two of them work together to try to stop this war from coming. And there's so much more in it. I did a whole entire reading vlog on the first one, which you can go and watch on my channel. It was really good. I rated it a 4.75 out of 5 stars, and I'm really excited to pick up the sequel. For my Illyrian side, I need to read a book that either has a crow on the cover or has red on the cover. And for that, I'm going to be reading Six Crimson Cranes, which we've already talked about. I'm reading for red on the cover on that board, and I'm reading for POC rep on Bookoplathon. The next 7 books that I list are books I have to read this month in no particular order to accomplish the novice path. I technically only have to read 2 out of these 7, so as long as I read at least 2 of the 7, I am able to go on to school in April at the magical school that G from Book Roast has created, but I'm hoping to actually be able to read all 7 of these. Starting at the bottom, to start the novice path, I have to read a book with a map. So I'm going to be reading The Shadows of What Was Lost, because if you go towards the center, it has a map in it. For Ash Torn Tree, I have to read a book that is on the top of my TBR, so I picked my buddy read, which is Song of the Forever Rains. I'm excited to be getting to this. It is the top of my TBR minus my 5-star prediction that we'll be getting to in a second. For Ruin of the Sky, I had to read a book with paranormal influence. So for this, I am reading Savage Lands, because technically, Fae fall into mythical, paranormal. Anyways, the book was categorized as it. I'm counting it. I'm not sitting here defending that choice because it's a bad one, but whatever. For The Mists of Solitude, I have to read a standalone, and for this, I am going to be reading Dark Matter by Blake Crouch, which we've already talked about on this board. For Tower of Rumination, I have to read a 5-star prediction. I'm gonna be reading Gleam. I can't wait. I'm so excited about this book. If you take one thing away from this video, it's that I'm excited to read Gleam. For Obsidian Falls, I have to read a mystery or a thriller. And so I'm actually going to be reading a book with my mom this month, which is called Stolen Thoughts. And from the short synopsis I can devise, it is a sci-fi mystery. There's not much that it talks about except for thoughts being stolen, and so I think that it's definitely going to have some thrilling aspects, but I really think that the mystery element is going to play a larger role in this book. I don't know anything else about it. My mom picked it out, and I was excited that she wanted to read a book that wasn't a historical fiction with me this time. And finally, for Aurelian Academy, I have to read a book with a school setting. So for this, I'm going to be reading The Wizard of Earthsea. Now, I have not read this. I don't know a ton about it, to be honest, but I did some Googling, and Google says it has a school setting, so I'm hopeful that it actually counts. Let me know down below if it's wrong, because I would change that actually to make it more fitting, but school setting, cool. That's it. It's a stack and a half. Let me try to hold all of these up for you really quickly. There are 10 physical books next to me that I'm going to be trying to read this month. This is the stack of books. Can you see? You can't see all of them. Okay, I can do it this time. Nope, they're already falling. Hand on bottom, hand on top. That's gonna work. this is the stack of books that I have to read this month. I can't wait to do the page count of how much I have to read every single day in order to get through all of these. But the thing that's really cool is because of how I play bingo, I actually have like 5 weeks to read most of these. Thanks for watching. Let me know down below what books you're reading. Link down below if you have a TBR that you have for this month for either Magical Readathon or the Bookoplathon. I'm really excited to be taking part in both of them and also doing this. Hopefully I didn't cheat too much about any of these things. Anyways, I'm scared. I have nothing else to say here. Subscribe if you want to keep watching videos. I post every Monday and Friday, and I read a lot of fantasy, horror, magical realism. I don't remember how my outro goes, but until next time, I'll talk to you in the comments. Bye!